Welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name is Adam Riancho, and it's Thursday for week 3. We have a game tonight between the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. Who you going to start and who you going to sit? For the second week in a row, we have a divisional rivalry game in the AFC East, this time between the Jets and the Patriots, and this time there are no players on the injury report. So that's very nice. We don't have to worry about any of our offensive players, but there's not that many in this game in the first place that we're even trusting because the Jets offense is extremely narrow. Breece Hall has looked really good. He's a lock in your lineup. He's my RB number 4 this week. It is a slight downgrade. This is a bottom 11 matchup, but the Patriots are giving up 5 catches per game to the running back position. So I think Breece will at least get close to, if not match, his average so far. He's giving you 6 catches per game on 21 total touches, an average 104 yards per game with 2 touchdowns, 1 fumble, an average of 18.4 points per game through 2 games this season. So Breece Hall, you drafted top 3. You're never benching him. And this week I have him at probably one of the lowest ranks I'll give you all year on him at RB number 4. You're still starting Breece Hall. I think you have to start Garrett Wilson. He is my wide receiver number 9 this week, and I don't feel like amazing about it. He's been kind of mediocre so far. The volume is there, 8.5 targets per game, 5 catches per game, only 61 yards per game, and not a single touchdown as of yet. An average of 8.6 points is not what you expected when you drafted Garrett Wilson at the end of round 1. So I am a little concerned about this offense in general, at least to score touchdowns. And without it, you're never going to get like truly elite games from Garrett. But maybe he proves me wrong as soon as this week. We saw DK Metcalf and JSN completely blow them up. And it could happen with a guy like Wilson. So I still trust him. I'm not going to bench him. I'm not going to panic just yet. But I don't feel like I've seen like the true potential unlocked that some people were hyping him up to have entering the season. As someone who rosters him in a 10-team full PPR league, I want to see him get going. So wish me some luck. I wish you some luck if you have Garrett Wilson. Sooner or later, he's bound to explode. The only other must start in this game, though, would be Rhamondre Stevenson, the running back of the Patriots, who's been a dominant workhorse through the first 2 games, 25 touches per game for Rhamondre, 2.5 catches. You'd like to see that go up, but it's still not terrible. 108 yards per game. He's been efficient, and 2 touchdowns so far through 2 games gives you an average of 18.1 points per game. So he's on par with Breece Hall as of this point. And while I'm not going to rank him that high, I think he's earned trustworthy status at the moment. He is inside my top 20. He's my running back 16 on the week. And this matchup is actually top 13. The Jets are above average. They give up 21.8 fantasy points per game to the running back position, and 5 catches for 48 receiving yards per game is not bad. We'll see if that does tick up for Rhamondre this week. I'd like to see that. That's kind of the only thing missing at a elite level for Rhamondre. So I trust him. I definitely think you're starting him. In 3 games against the Jets so far in his career, he's averaging 12 points per game without a single touchdown. So the floor is very safe. You're definitely getting double digits from him. And if the touchdown does hit for the 3rd week in a row, you'll be very close to 20 points. So I'll trust Rhamondre. Definitely a must start at this point. Otherwise, though, the only other players I have ranked in starting consideration would be both of the defenses. I have both of them ranked top 9, the Jets at number 5, the Patriots at number 9. I do think the Jets win this game, spoiler alert, so that's why I give them the edge. And so far, their defense has looked decent. Not against the Niners, but that one you can throw out. Last week against the Titans, they had an interception, a fumble recovery, and a blocked punt. So top that off with 7 total sacks through the first 2 weeks, and you have a pretty solid fantasy defense. They're averaging 24.5 points per game allowed, but again, one of those was against the Niners. They do not match up comparably to the Patriots. So I see some turnovers and some sacks, and definitely not more than 20 points scored by New England. So all of that is a very safe equation for fantasy defenses. I think the Jets are an excellent play. I have them at number 5 this week they should be in your lineup. But the Patriots defense, I also think, will hold their own. They've forced 6 sacks on the year, 16.5 points per game allowed, and they've looked pretty solid against the Bengals at least. Even the Seahawks, they held to 20 points in regulation. So I feel like they're a very safe play from a floor standpoint. They'll keep it close within a touchdown. And while they have not caught an interception yet, they have forced 2 fumbles that they've recovered. So I think they're decent. I think they're bust proof. And there are some kind of weird matchups for some other solid defenses this week. So I think they're top 10. And I think if you're streaming the position, they would be a good pickup in week 3 on a short week. I think it's a low-scoring game here. So I like the Pats defense. I think they are a legit start. And the only one I'm even considering other than them would be Hunter Henry, the tight end for the Patriots, my number 11 this week in my rankings. He's been pretty good, at least last week he was. He had 12 targets in week 2, which brings his season-long average to 7.5 per game, 5 catches per game for 64 yards per game. He was close to 100 yards last week. He has not scored a touchdown, so if that does hit, you'll be very happy. But 8.9 points per game is his average so far. And we know for a fact this team is using the tight end position. They got Austin Hooper involved week 1, and the wide receivers have been irrelevant with Brissett under center. So you don't get a lot of volume in this offense, but most of it goes to tight end. And this week, I think Hunter Henry is at least an interesting pickup for depth. Maybe you lost Njoku or Evan Ingram to injury, and you're still trying to replace them with a solid guy. So at tight end 11, you could do far worse. I think at least in full PPR, he offers a very safe floor, and he could be top 10 again, even in half PPR. So not the worst option, but I will mention in 5 career games with the Patriots playing against the Jets, he's only averaging 4.5 points per game. He has not been anything to be excited about in this matchup. So it could burn you. That's the nature of the tight end position. Outside the top 10, you could get a bagel with anyone. So good luck with him, but just a streamer, not an automatic start. And then I think you're benching everyone else in this matchup. I'm definitely benching the quarterbacks. No thank you with Aaron Rodgers. He's only averaging 11.9 points per game so far. And while he's only thrown 1 interception, 3 touchdowns, he's offering nothing on the ground, 0 rushing yards so far, and only 172 passing yards per game. I'll pass on a defense that is only averaging 16.5 points allowed so far this season. So no thanks with Rodgers. He's my quarterback 26 this week. I will pass. And then no thank you with Jacoby Brissett. I don't think anyone is really that desperate. He's only averaging 9.3 points per game through 2 games. And while he has not turned it over, he's only thrown 1 touchdown. That's not good. He does run it for 19 rushing yards per game. That's interesting, but it's not enough to really put you over the top because he's only throwing for 135 passing yards per game, and the Jets secondary is one of the best in the NFL. So he's going to be bad this week. I don't think if you have anyone other than Rhamondre, the defense, or maybe the tight end, are you considering any Patriot? And in that regard, I didn't even rank a single Patriots wide receiver. Through 2 games, there isn't a single one of them that has more than 30 receiving yards total. Not in 1 game, total through 2 weeks. KJ Osborne is their leading receiver, averaging 14 yards per game. So no way, Jose. I am not starting a single Pats receiver. Keep Polk, Osborne, Douglas, and Tyquan on the waiver wire. I don't think I'm starting a Jets receiver either. It's just a little too risky. If you had to talk me into one, it would be Allan Lazard. He's my wide receiver 56. I at least rank him. And 2 weeks ago, he did have 2 touchdowns. He put up 23.9 points against the Niners. But last week, he had only 2 catches, 2.1 points. Was unusable. So he has just as much risk as Mike Williams, who caught his first and only reception last week in week 2. And you're getting 2 points or maybe double digits. There is no in between. It's very boom bust with both Jets receivers. So I didn't rank Mike Williams. I did rank Lazard, but only at 56. No thank you with him. I also did not rank Malachi Corley, and I don't think anyone even considers rostering him at this point. But maybe you still have some hope about Tyler Conklin working out. At the moment, it looks like a very bad bet. He's my tight end number 28 in my rankings this week, and he is averaging 1 catch per game for 8 yards per game. So wow, 1.3 fantasy points. That's pretty good. No way you're starting Tyler Conklin. Don't even think about it. Maybe you could at least have a conversation about the running backs that are backups for both teams. Let's start with Braelon Allan, my RB 41 this week, where last week he scored 2 touchdowns. Not bad on 9 touches. He also gave you 56 total yards. So maybe, just maybe, he's that third weapon that needs to step up. I think it'll rotate, though, on a weekly basis. It'll be very difficult to predict. So I'd roster him, especially as a handcuff to Breece Hall, but I wouldn't start him. RB 41, little too risky. But Antonio Gibson played very well last week as well. He was bad in week 1, but last week he had 12 touches for 103 total yards, only 1 catch, and we expected him to be more involved in the passing game. So kind of surprising, but I don't think he's going to run for close to 9 yards per carry again, and that's why I don't trust him. I just think that week might have been a fluke. In week 2. So not trusting him, but maybe rostering him as a backup depth piece. My RB 45 this week, I'm not starting. I would rather start Braelon if I was that desperate, but I'm not going to start either if I have the choice. The kickers are fine if you really want to start, but I don't think either of them is like top 8. They're not elite, and you're really hoping for like at least 3 field goals in this one because I don't see a lot of points on the board with either team. So no, I'll just bench both of them, pivot to other teams. So that's it for the start sit decisions in this one. I think there's 5 must starts. Breece Hall, obviously. Garrett Wilson, because you have to. My wide receiver 9. Rhamondre Stevenson is my RB 16. He looks like a very safe play moving forward. And then both defenses, the Jets I have at number 5, and the Patriots, who I have at number 9, I think are very safe floor plays and will give you double-digit fantasy points because neither team is scoring over 20 points. So good luck with them. The only other player I'd even consider to flex or stream at tight end would be Hunter Henry, my tight end 11. Last week's volume was encouraging. But aside from that, I am benching Aaron Rodgers, Jacoby Brissett, Jalen Poole, KJ Osborne, Demario Douglas, Tyquan Thornton, Allan Lazard, Mike Williams, Malachi Corley, Tyler Conklin, and also Antonio Gibson, as well as Braelon Allan. I am not starting any of these players on the screen. No, thank you this week. So that's it for the start sit calls. It's time for my final score prediction. And it is worth noting, in the last 6 games between these two teams, so no Tom Brady in this equation, the Patriots are 5-1. They have owned this matchup for decades, essentially. So it is weird to bet against them. They are winning on an average of 21.5 points to 11, but the last game these two teams played was a win for the Jets, and I believe it was with Zach Wilson at quarterback. So I am trusting Aaron Rodgers here. I'm not going to put my faith in Brissett. I think it'll be a very close game within a touchdown, but I will take the Jets to win. Final score 17-13. If one of those touchdowns for the Jets that I'm predicting doesn't happen, I think it'll probably turn into like 2 field goals. I think they'll be a little bit more desperate. And I do think it'll come down to 3 or 4 points in this matchup. And the Patriots are currently 6-point underdogs. The line was better on Monday when I gave you this pick against the spread. And I am definitely taking New England and the points. I don't think they win, but I think they hold it to less than a touchdown and probably just a field goal. So I will take New England to cover, but I am taking the under on the point total. The over-under is 38.5 points, and I'm predicting only 30 on the scoreboard. So give me the under and the Pats to cover, but the Jets win 17-13. So that's it for most of this video, but I always give you a bet every single Thursday on the Thursday night matchup. And it's 5 picks. It's all or nothing. So keep that in mind. If you want to join me on Underdog, use code Nice and Blunt on sign up and get your first deposit matched 50%. So if you put down $10, you get another 5 to play with. If you put down 100, you would get 50. So keep that in mind. It's Garrett Wilson higher than 47.5 total yards. If that bet is still live, which I doubt at this point, I would recommend it. I think Garrett Wilson will go over 50 yards receiving in this one. He's averaging 52 yards per game against the Patriots in his career. So love that line. Even the normal one without the discount, I think is pretty solid. I would consider the over on Garrett Wilson's receiving yards. But I think Breece Hall is going to catch at least 5 catches in this game, and I think that turns into at least 40 receiving yards. So I actually turned this into a scorcher. It started around like, I believe 32, 34, something like that. And I went up to 39.5 to increase my payout. So I like that. You can adjust it in the drop-down menu. This one I feel good about. And I also adjusted the line on Hunter Henry. I believe it was like 36.5. I bumped it up to 39.5, and it does make it a scorcher. So that increases my payout as well. And I do think if last week holds true, we will see close to 50 yards receiving from Hunter Henry in this game. So I think he goes over 40. I feel pretty good about Hunter Henry and Breece Hall going over 40 yards. But Jacoby Brissett is averaging 19 rushing yards per game so far this season, and the line is 13.5. I hit the over. I think he will surpass it in this one. So if it was 20 yards, I would not take it. I would hit the under, but at 13.5, I think he'll hit 15 pretty comfortably. Give me Brissett on the over. And then the last one is probably the one I feel most confident about. Rhamondre Stevenson is averaging 22.5 rush attempts per game through the first 2 weeks, and the line is only 16 attempts for the over. So I think he will absolutely hit 20, so 17, give me that for sure. If it's 16, it pushes, and I still get some money back on this bet. But I think that one is very safe, very secure. I think that one is the lock of these 5, and I also feel pretty good about the other 4. So wish me luck. I feel kind of excited about this bet, and I'm hoping to turn $3 into 97. So that is the bet for this game. Again, use code Nice and Blunt if you want to sign up and join me on Underdog with this specific bet. But that's it for me. My name is Adam Riancho, and I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching Nice and Blunt.